Hey there everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Well, it's warm summertime now, the sun is bright and the days are long, so what better time to take a trip back to Batman the Animated Series during a blistering summer snowfall. Much like the majority of the fanbase, I love Heart of Ice. I think it's easily one of the best episodes of the whole show and is definitely deserving of the award it's won. And I mean that so sincerely. If you weren't aware, this episode has won a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Writing in an Animated Program, which is so fair. After rewatching it recently, I just wanted to discuss it more. So here it is, my review for one of the greatest episodes of animated television ever made. Right from the opening set piece, we are introduced to the titular villain of the episode, Victor Freeze, or to most, Mr. Freeze. A scientist known for works in cryogenics who ended up being trapped within an endless winter. We as the audience see this desperate man narrate his pain and planning into a snow globe-like turn toy, which represents his dying wife Nora. After gaining a fatal disease, he stores her within a static cryogenic chamber, in a desperate measure to study the disease and find the cure. I really like that this episode began with this scene. Just him alone pouring his withering cold heart into this toy version of his beloved wife. It does such a good job to set up the isolation he feels, which is a major theme of the episode. He's alone and feels trapped, physically and emotionally in this case. They're both encased within an ice cube, experiencing a similar fate, yet they're so far away from each other. This scene shows the audience his one goal, his guiding force, and that's to be with his wife again, to heal her and see her. She is the only possible warmth left in the world and he will do anything to be with her again. This opening few minutes does so much in setting the storyline up and his overall character. It's such a compelling hook for any spectator to get invested in. I feel like, with the nature of this episode, it so easily could have been set in the middle of a barren winter, but the writers don't do that. Much like the present day, from my perspective, this episode is set during summertime. Which makes all this snow seem abnormal and supernatural. It's the kind of weird anomaly that would entice Batman to investigate. In terms of the actions that Freeze does throughout this episode, it shows his duality and fleeting morality. Yes, he wants to save his partner. Yes, he wants to wreak vengeance on the man who did this to him. That's his goal, but equally it seems like he's not looking to cause havoc or murder. Yes, he is stopping people who get in his path, but he isn't screaming horrendous killer to anyone. It seems like he doesn't want to kill. Well, I guess Bole is the exception. This character choice is very interesting and sets him apart from the usual Batman rogue. Yes, a lot of his actions are questionable. He left a man with frozen legs out in the cold and abandoned him to hypothermia had Batman not stepped in. I would argue actions like these, or robbing equipment, aren't purposely malicious, they're aiding in his overall objective. I feel like Batman even struggles with what to do here, especially after learning of what happened, which makes for such interesting character writing. He's done bad things, but isn't necessarily a villain. I think a lot of these great character beats comes down to how well this plot was paced on the whole. Bole's involvement and the overall story is a slow burn. Ironic, I know, but it never feels like it drags. It felt like the reveals and the way they were highlighted were done effectively, which ties into his overall backstory. During an investigation, Batman uncovers a tape that shows both him and the audience their tragic tale. As I said, Victor was a scientist who worked for Bole and was investigating a cure for his wife. Bole saw this as a waste of time and resources and wanted to pull the plug on Nora. As a result, Freeze snaps and goes for Bole, which is very understandable. I think if you cared that much for someone, then the result would be the same. Bole retaliates and shoves Victor into a mass of chemicals, which changed his being forever, trapping him in sub-zero temperatures for eternity. So yes, I think Freeze's motives and anger is understandable. I think the use of the tape was a good in-universe way of highlighting a backstory which otherwise would be very exposition heavy. This was clearly the way to do it. There isn't an awful lot to the final showdown, but I really don't think there needed to be. Ultimately, I think Batman was trying to save both the villains. Well, in a way. He didn't want Freeze to murder this man. He knows Victor is not that bad of a person. In addition, it would have rid Bole of real consequence. With him alive, he can take the tape to the police and he will be incarcerated. While I'm glad Batman stopped Freeze, I really wasn't a fan of the soup as a plot tool. Yes, it was set up with Batman having a cold and Alfred providing the soup in a thermos. I just think there was a better way of stopping him. The episode ending with one more glimpse of Freeze interacting with the snow globe toy was great. The fact the snow fades away from the globe is so bittersweet. It's the only possible way to end the plot. Before the credits cut, we see Batman sit and watch. This is interesting. My reading is Batman is questioning what he should have done and whether he should help Freeze in his endeavours. This plot is just so well perceived that even live action plots have attempted to adapt it. Batman and Robin used this story as the basis for its Freeze plot, only they got it wrong. I think it's hard to have a compelling version of Freeze when he has nearly naked henchwomen and goofy goons at his side. While I think the Arnie version could have been such a good way to expand on this and really push the grief and duality further, it just didn't. But Batman and Robin is a topic for another video. Well, that's just my thoughts. I would love to hear what all of you think about this episode in comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, then please hit that like button and subscribe. Stay out of the snow this summer, and I'll see you all on the next one.